Okay, hold on. You know, it's because I was editing. Duh. It was because I was editing it. I'm sorry. I apologize. So I think it's live. Yeah, it's live now. My bad. God. Guys, we're new to using Zoom for this, and the reason we went with Zoom is that we can show ourselves equally instead of one of us having a tiny image like we did with the Halloween stream. So a little bit of a technical um, glitch happening there, but I think we have sort of sorted that out. I don't want to speak too soon, Strebo, but I do think we have sorted that out.
Very good.
So let's let her go. Okay. What are we talking about tonight, Strebo?
Well, what does the name on the marquee say? The Mandalorian Season 2.
The Mandalorian Season of the Witch.
Season 2. That's right. This is the one without Michael Myers. Be Season 3 then. We're just going to confuse people right off the bat with obscure
Because that's what
bad cult film references.
That is what we do.
It's exactly what we do. Well, I'm looking at the screen and it's all black again.
Yes, I am looking at that as well, and I have another approach for that. Let's see what that does. I don't know if that makes a change. Seems like everything was working great right up until I hit the old go live button. Okay, we're up now. I think we're good. I've got it on a second device, and I'm sharing in a way that I didn't really want to, but it's not quite as slick, but it's working. Okay. So I can see you, you can see me. I got Mando and Baby Yoda behind my noggin, and you've got that amazing Mutantville, changing the face of indie horror, designed by an MF and genius. Clearly.
Okay, very good. Very good. Okay, so let's talk about The Mandalorian Season 2. Because Johnny Brento, here we are, November 6th, in the year of our Lord, 2020, Anno Domingo. And I never thought I would be excited about Star Wars again after like 2017. I don't want to go too deeply into that, but I will briefly mention, if you want to hear my thoughts.
Your mental breakdown. Your mental breakdown on live streams. Yes. Yeah, we remember that.
On The Last Jedi, yes, there are videos where I explain it. I explain my thoughts on and feelings on the film, and I also restructured the entire script to show that it could have been done properly. So
could have been saved. Damn it!
I won't try to bring that up again. But so The Mandalorian accomplished what for the past 3 years I thought would be impossible, which was getting me excited about Star Wars again. Because I don't know about you, but in the lead up to the final film in the quote unquote Skywalker trilogy, I thought that I had put a lot of thought into it. And I'm like, what is missing from these films that's not quite the same? And what came up to me was the samurai film aesthetic, or even kind of the cowboy western aesthetic, but specifically the samurai aesthetic, because George Lucas always cited the Akira Kurosawa films as a big influence, specifically the Seven Samurai and Hidden Fortress. I mean, the Hidden Fortress is practically Episode 4. They're practically the same things. Star Wars Episode 4 is like the Hidden Fortress in space, if you've ever seen it, which is actually worth watching. So that was one of the things that I had. That one of the conclusions that I had come to was that this samurai aesthetic was missing. Because even all the way back in Episode 4, you have that cantina sequence, which is very much a Western sequence, but the way Obi-Wan cuts down, the Walrus Man and Doctor, what's his name, with his lightsaber, is very samurai moment. If you're at all familiar with the Kurosawa films or the Miyamoto Musashi trilogy or anything like that, because those old samurai Shambara films, the action was always quick and decisive, and it settled things right away. There wasn't like a lot of sword clanging and stuff like that. I mean, it was realistic in that way, at least, and that it was very very quick and very deadly. And that was something that I thought was missing. That and kind of that in that kind of that code and sense of honor. We don't see a whole lot of that in the new Star Wars
Or the
series.
world.
Well, that too. Which is why we're doing this live stream, right? To try to give people some kind of distraction from all the craziness of the world and talk about things that we just enjoy again for a little while. So.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember the last thing I actually got really excited about. Movies or episodic television or pay-per-view, any of that stuff. A couple of UFC fights, I guess, but I mean, like as far as speculative fiction, not so much. This it kind of feels like I don't want to say lessons were learned by the flop of the last how many movies now, but this film is everything those weren't. It's story and character driven as opposed to being pandering, and I think and then the quality of directing and filmmaking. It's back. It just feels like Star Wars. For all the reasons you just mentioned. Um, so it's easy to get excited about that again if you can recapture a little bit of that lost glitter, that we had when we went to the theater to see these. It's a good thing.
Yeah, so I guess before we get too deep into this, we should mention that we're going to talk just about episode 1 today. I thought we were going to talk about episode 1 and 2.
Wah, wah. Sorry, I screwed that up.
Johnny Brento hasn't had the chance.
Well, so I didn't, typically Sundays are my day to catch up on stuff like that. And on Disney, they're not releasing the whole thing. It's just, week at a time.
One episode.
So I didn't realize that I was behind a week. When I watched it, that was the only thing available. I was like, oh, I'm about to I'm about to just binge this, and it wasn't available. So I thought, hey, that must be the one. I'm super excited. Let me hit Streeborama up. Let's talk about it. Before we just blow all of our thoughts on it. Let's go ahead and talk about it. This one to me had a lot of things from. I mean, even like other franchises. I'm like a Tremors freak. So and I'm a Dune freak. So it's like whoa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a neat illusion.
Let's do it.
Go. I got some little notes here that kind of will take us in order of my thoughts anyway. I really enjoyed the opening with the battle arena. That's supposed to be Terrace Kasi, which for ultra Star Wars nerds, I haven't looked all these up yet. Okay, mind you, but these are the things that I caught. Terrace Kasi was the old video game on PlayStation. I don't know if you ever had that, where everybody could fight. It was totally stupid because you had like Princess Leia with what was she using? Like a chain or a stick or something, and then you had Vader and Luke with lightsabers. It's like, really? But they also had like Boba Fett on there and a Gamorrean guard and a couple other people and Han Solo. It was a horrible game, but that was just a nice little allusion to it. And so right away you see the Gamorrean guards and they're hacking at each other, and of course the Gamorreans are a direct callback to Return of the Jedi, where we first saw them in Jabba's palace, and there are a lot of callbacks to Return of the Jedi throughout.
That just felt like a callback.
This particular episode.
That felt like a callback to the '80s Rock'em Sock'em Robots, a little bit.
Yeah, I guess anything with two people in the ring. So anyway, in the chat, what's up, Reggie Hicks? Sorry we didn't shout you out earlier. Thanks for tuning in. We've also got Mutantville Players, which is us, and Indie Film Reviews, which is I. So yeah, we've got the chat populated tonight. We'll see what kind of questions.
There's 50 people in there.
55 people. Yeah. Just don't ask about it. I won't have to point out.
Yeah, you won't be able to see that many people in the playback.
So right away, you get that whole samurai cowboy aesthetic when the Mandalorian gets ambushed. This is classic kind of cowboy stuff where the cowboy bounty hunter goes into town and he gets jumped by the rival bounty hunters or whatever.
Yeah, it had a very the beginning reminded me of several Western films, but it kind of like had that you almost expected Lee Van Cleef to step out and say, give it to him or whatever, some sort of like a hidden allusion to other characters that would be even darker and more menacing than the folks he was in. But like I had like a Terrence Hill, My Name is Trinity vibe going on because it was like super fun, and you knew like the first time he asked somebody for anything, well, they weren't going to give it to him, and you knew that some stuff was about to go down. I mean, that's just kind of the way that is. In this show, you never had to wait more than like 5 to 7 minutes for some action, which, at this point, I really appreciate that. It's like establish a little bit of story drive, and then let's just drop some badass action on them.
100%. And I think all credit for that goes to Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. At this point, it's no mistake that Jon Favreau has had so many hits under his belt. I mean, he essentially set the tone for the Marvel Universe with Iron Man before the Avengers. I mean, we give Joss Whedon credit for making multiple groups of heroes work together in one film, but Favreau really kind of set that template of having that good, well-paced action, interesting characters, and kind of witty banter and dialogue throughout the film, self-appreciating, self-effacing dialogue, if you will, to help kind of set the modern superhero film template. But we don't want to go too far into the weeds on that. But this show definitely calls back to just classic Western tropes and analogs all throughout. I hate to use the word tropes, but in this case, there are a lot of tropes because essentially everything is a trope. It's like saying, boy, that movie, it was just full of portal tropes. Portal tropes, what do you mean? Yeah, like every time a character entered the room, they came through a door. You ever notice that? They came through a door. That was a trope. Like, no shit. Yeah, everything is a trope. Okay, don't go overboard. Okay?
Right.
Like Freud said, this pipe is not a pipe. Sometimes, it's not. This series is just classic Western updated. I mean, if you went and enjoyed Once Upon a Time in Hollywood last year, where they talked about how Hollywood had that time period where it was built upon the Western TV show, and you had all these great actors that went from show to show, and then you had the name actors that would build their shows and then lose them, and then they would guest star on other shows and slowly dwindle out into obscurity, and this series, The Mandalorian, tries to call back that formula. It is very much trying to be the modern version of Star Trek, where it's a Western in space. It's doing that 110%. And you see this over and over and over again. I mean, I would even say this is almost a very direct reference to the Steve McQueen Wanted Dead or Alive, which was very much, I thought, the blueprint or the inspiration for Bounty Law from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Kung Fu with David Carradine just a little bit. Of course, that's because they're all following the same tropes, if you will. But yeah, it's amazing. I could see myself being a kid busting ass to do my chores so I could watch that before homework time. This would motivate me.
Sure. Well, Carradine was, as Kwai Chang Caine was, the traveling hero, but the Mandalorian is specifically a bounty hunter. That's why I say Wanted Dead or Alive, because it is the same kind of traveling. If you've ever seen that, it comes on Heroes and Icons during the week. So I'm able to watch it in the office at work, so it's great. I can watch all these old classic Westerns, and I mean, they're filled with great character actors, great dialogue, great action, because that was back when they would choreograph stuff by like just having two stunt guys fight in front of the camera. They would just like, yeah, we're gonna put on a fight for you. You film it.
What you doing?
You can see some good, rough and tumble dust ups in those shows. I love it. And that was when Steve McQueen was training with Bruce Lee. So you see the direct influence of like Bruce Lee, and if you're familiar with any of that kind of stuff, right there in those fight scenes. Like I was watching one the other day where he's fighting a Native American. They're having a knife fight. And it was brutal.
I know that episode. I totally know that episode. Yeah.
I mean, imagine that ground fighting like that in 1963.
That's the only time in that series that you witnessed that character eat meat, by the way. He was starving. He was
He was
starving.
eating and eating and eating.
He was like, vegan crap.
And Steve McQueen was that kind of guy that he was like, okay, well, if he's going to eat, I'm going to eat this scene, you know?
Right.
I'm looking at like the little picture. I have to figure out where my eyes go. I feel like I'm talking to Hal if I look directly into the computer, into the webcam.
Talk to Baby Yoda. Let's talk about how great this looks, man. You know, for an episodic show, it really like lives up to that film level. I think one of the ways that that's possible is the that rear projection Unreal Engine technology, so that when they're like in a scene that would typically be your green screen, like what we're on right now, and you have to do all this correcting, it's actually real time. The scene that they're in, throwing the light onto the actor. I mean, my eye completely accepts it. There's nothing about it that doesn't look completely real. It's pretty insane. And I guess that's how they're able to turn these out as quickly as they are. You know, that technology is not far away from being, you know, usable by these guys. These guys, right.
Well, one thing to mention about this first episode of season 2 is it is chock full of fan service. I think Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni definitely set out to. They're like, okay, let's give out a lot of fan service in this episode. Let's have a lot of fun with it. Now, to me, you know, I can always take or leave fan service. I'm fine with just a fun episode. Like episode 2 of this particular season is just like Monster of the Week episode. It's all pretty much, you know, brand new concepts, aliens, all that kind of stuff, and there's very little kind of callbacks or member berries or whatever you want to call it. But this has a lot of callbacks to just kind of classic elements from the original trilogy. Whoops, just had a computer crash on the other side. Oh well.
Whoops, there it is.
Yeah, I have to deal with that later. But anyway, so specifically a lot of callbacks to Return of the Jedi because this takes place a few years after, you know, the original trilogy. Like I loved when they actually showed that footage of the Death Star blowing up. That's getting a little bit ahead. I love right away they go to Tatooine, which I'm like, oh cool, Tatooine. That's something
you get a neat geography lesson, you know, showing where Mos Eisley is at, and you sort of get to see the lay of the land. You're like, this seems pretty familiar, actually.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Now, one thing I don't want to heap. It's very easy to heap endless praise on the show. One thing I must point out: a lot of the secondary character actors in this show are horrible. I'll just have to say it. Like that woman with the curly hair. I thought she was awful in season 1. I thought those were the weakest episodes, and she's awful in this one too. The only thing she does well is she in this one. No, maybe I'm talking about
episode. She's in episode 1.
Is she in this one?
Yeah,
okay. She does the frog voice in episode 2, but we'll talk about that next time. But she does that really well. But everything else she says is just horrible, which surprises me because there are so many great actors that are actually left over from that time period. Well, not like a ton of them, but some of them. Like they should get James Wong on here. You watch those old Western shows. I was watching him on. He was on Wanted the other day. He's on Gunsmoke. You know, he pops up on Have a Gun Will Travel. You know, all these things. I mean, they could still get him out. James Hong. What did I say?
Dude,
James Wong. Yeah,
you did. Hong. Yeah, I thought you were talking about in the Insidious series there for a second.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
That would be amazing, dude. I mean, if he's still available and healthy enough, because man, we're losing all our old icons like that. Jeez, man, that'd be a great throwback.
Yeah, we are. So then they meet the Marshal, which was pretty cool. You meet the guy was essentially his Mandalorian armor that looked like Boba Fett's armor. I mean, it looked like it had been recovered.
And then there's your callback, right?
Yeah, and there's your callback. And now one of the big, like, quote unquote leaks for this particular season was that Boba Fett was supposed to have an appearance in this season, which always annoys me when they do that kind of stuff. But those kind of leaks are like they do that as part of promotion now.
Isn't he in the belly of a Sarlacc?
Yeah, that's the point. Well, so I'm wondering, is this how he appears? His armor appears?
Although,
or is there something more?
Well, you know,
because it used to be canon that he did actually escape. He like blasted his way out eventually.
Which canon was that?
Well, in the books and
okay,
the
books that were erased. Would that be that? Would that be those? That
That's
sucks.
what I said. It used to be canon.
Yeah. Hey, so yeah, another connection to that would be that the dragon actually ate a sarlacc and lived in its former hole, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
he could have
Very cool.
spit that armor out somewhere.
Very cool.
As
Lots of tons of callbacks in this to see. Of course, the
well,
Sand People,
the
the
Jawas.
the giant bantha bones, um, the Mandalorian armor was really cool. I liked the Cobb, what's his name guy, Cobb Vance. He was pretty cool. I was kind of sad he wasn't immediately going to be like another, like an addition to the crew. I was like, oh cool, there'll be two Mandalorians now. What's better than one? But this
Yeah.
series, I mean, the formula. I was about to get to it. Is totally Lone Wolf and Cub. I mean, and that's another way they're just
Yeah.
that samurai aesthetic. I mean, this is completely that Lone Wolf and Cub in space story.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But it's brilliant. I mean, that's
it's funny.
always what made Star Wars work.
That actually just reminded me of like another callback in season one. The shiny ball is sort of like the ribbon ball. The shiny ball from his little joystick in the ship is like the ribbon ball that the lone wolf offers his son. If he takes the ball, he's gonna just send him to be with his mother, right? Like,
Yeah, it is.
And he chooses the sword instead. So
that's a good point. Yeah, because that's a pivotal character moment in the Lone Wolf.
I didn't make that connection at first, and I thought
because he tells Daigoro that if you choose the ball, I will send you to meet your mother in heaven. But if you choose the sword, you shall walk the road to hell. He chooses the sword.
Next thing you know, he's pulling all kind of little gadgets and firing arrows and spears and murdering samurai, right?
I might have to watch that as my midnight movie tonight. Pull out one of those Lone Wolf Cubs crazy films.
And this has inspired me.
Tons of callbacks to Return of the Jedi. Absolutely tons of it. When you meet Cobb in his flashback, the bartender was Weequay. He was one of the skiff guards from Return of the Jedi. He's the guy. I didn't quite understand this. I thought he's the guy that Luke lightsabers and he falls into the Sarlacc pit, but I might be mistaken. I gotta go back and look at it. But I know he's Weequay. They even call him Weequay, and I had that action figure when I was growing up. So
well, you're gonna make me sad if you start talking about action figures. I'm just gonna warn you because I wasted so many. I lost so many. I had such a killer collection.
Yeah, I had all.
It makes me want to vomit,
dude. I just gave them away. I wish to this day that I had kept all of them. Those and GI Joes and Transformers, just all.
Not even just.
They tell you have to get rid of it when you're growing up.
Yeah, not even.
I don't want to.
Yeah, not even to sell. Like I would set that shit on a glass shelf somewhere. Those play sets, that Hoth, freaking Hoth play set with a little spinning gun, Damn.
That's what I'm talking about, exactly. Now, for one brief moment, I thought this Cobb Vance guy might actually be Fen Shisa, which is the first Mandalorian we ever see in Star Wars media outside of the films. He was a Mandalorian in the Marvel comic book Star Wars series. He was one of the first that appeared. Fen Shisa. They wind up running into him because they're looking for Boba Fett, who has Han Solo and Carbonite for a while. They find Fen Shisa. So, a little obscure bit of Star Wars nerd trivia there for you. So then you see the Crate Dragon, which is awesome. Right away, I was like, holy cow, can Sarlacc swim now? That's what I thought. And I was like, oh, okay, it's not a Sarlacc, it's Crate Dragon.
I was waiting for the Fremen to pop out and start riding that bitch.
It is very Dune-like, very, very, very Dune-like. But that's the thing that's so fun about this is there is a bubblegum and popcorn mentality to these adventures on this show. It's done as that kind of serial narrative cliffhanger type adventure series, where you're not supposed to sit and think about everything too much. It's supposed to keep moving, but then it has these really interesting kind of character bits and moments and just characters spread throughout that help keep you kind of hooked and into it. They've got to get some better character actors though, because some of those secondary characters are just horrible.
I'm so
Bill Burr almost took me out of it in season one. Not to interrupt you, but just to finish that thought. Like Bill Burr, I mean, I love him as a comedian, but just seeing him in it just keeps throwing me out because I'm just like, there's Bill Burr, there's Bill Burr, there's Bill Burr. Like they couldn't put him in makeup, give him a patch at least, just so I'm not looking at his bald red head like going, "There's Bill Burr."
On the when they, I mean, we're doing spoilers, right?
Yeah, it's all spoilers. I mean,
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. So when they killed the crate dragon, and the
at the very end,
what
yes,
was
you're
that
jumping
word that
ahead.
he
You're
used?
jumping ahead a bit, though.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, I wanted to ask you if you interpreted something the same as me, but you know what?
Okay.
We'll get to that. You go ahead, and if you want to go work up to it.
Okay, yeah. Again, callbacks. They showed the little video hologram of the Death Star blowing up, and everybody's cheering. That was
Yay!
cool because you kind of get a little piece of the story. You're like, oh, this is what everybody was doing on this planet on Tatooine when the Death Star blew up. I mean, well, the second Death Star anyway.
They did a nice
But
job of harkening back to those vector graphics too. For
yes,
the
they
little
did.
illustration. I definitely noticed that.
Yes, they did. That was really cool. And and they stayed true to the laws of driving, which are always what if you're going to make a movie over, right? You
Right.
make the same
Right. Make
thing,
the same
right?
movie.
So what happens in Tatooine when Empire falls? They said the mining collective moves in. It's just the Empire Part Two. That's all you have to do.
Yeah, one of the more badass action sequences.
Yeah, and that's always just something to point out is the action sequences in this are just so fun.
Man.
I mean, they just take so much of the Star Wars lore into account, and then they're rough and tumble too.
It's not the first time we've seen anybody use the monocle and fire the daggum missile that those guys always carry.
No, I think he used it on something.
I don't think I ever saw that before. But that was dope.
But that was really cool. Now, this is where I have to mention that I had the original Boba Fett with the launchable rocket launcher. People say does not exist. I had it as a kid.
I have
the missile was actually long. It was extended, and when you plugged it in, it latched, and then you push this little button, and it shot out.
I have a 12-inch version of that figure right now, and he's missing
That's
that
awesome.
freaking rocket.
Oh.
It didn't have it, but I bought that as an adult. Trying to recapture some of the glory days.
That saddens me. Yes. So the mining collective is a cool ersatz empire. Then I like how he grabs the Camtono in the flashback. The Camtono is the little ice cream maker looking machine. That's a direct callback to the Empire Strikes Back. I recognize that right away. Because in the Empire Strikes Back, when they're evacuating Bespin, there's a guy carrying a Camtono, and it's an ice cream maker machine. It's all it is. It's nothing special. It's an actual out of the box early 1980s item or late 1970s item. so that's what they had him find all those jewels in, which I guess were kyber crystals that he wound up trading to the Jawas for the Boba Fett armor, which was really awesome. And the R5 robot was there, which is the red robot that R2D2 shoots because they're about to buy it at Luke Skywalker's house, if you remember. So if you ever wonder what happened to R5, he gets repaired and survives. So there you go. Robot, thoughts and all that. Yeah. Robots matter. I always love seeing Jawas and sandcrawlers. To me, the sandcrawlers were the original just kind of moment of awe of Star Wars. Well, I mean, you have like the Star Destroyers and then all that, but then everything kind of settles down, and it's kind of the second moment of awe is when you see the sandcrawler coming in. You're like, whoa, what's this huge thing? Especially back when that wasn't a digital effect, it was a model or whatever, but they did it in such a way where they cheated the scale and made it look, gigantic. Right. That was really cool. Of course, seeing Boba Fett's armor is cool because then you go, oh, okay, well, did they dig this out of a Sarlacc, or did he escape and then something happened? He had his further adventures. So this is something I want to point out that Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are very, very smart about, which is expanding Star Wars without like erasing what came before. I mean, they try to respect it. So they don't say, yes, he escaped from the Sarlacc pit. They don't say, no, he died in there. They leave it as kind of an open, it's a totally open slate at this point, because you can say, well, it's up to you to fill in. How did they get that armor? Did they dig it out of the pit, or did he escape with it? Because there were old stories of him escaping. So if you want to keep that as part of your canon, you can do that. And Dave Filoni is worth pointing out that he's the guy that was behind the Clone Wars TV series, which I initially did not care for. The same with Star Wars Rebels, but then by season 2 and 3, I was totally in love with both series. I thought they were amazing, incredible expansions to the Star Wars universe. The animated series was everything I really wanted the prequel trilogy to be, but it really kind of fleshed out that whole universe. I mean, it's unbelievable what we get to see from that time period now. And then Rebels did something which I thought was impossible, which was make me interested in that kind of New Hope, Rogue Squadron, Rogue One timeline again. Very cool. Yeah, seeing the missile launcher go off was pretty cool. Seeing the Mando use the Krayt Dragon roar, I think that's what that was, which is the same thing that Obi-Wan does in Star Wars: A New Hope. When the Sand People have when they've cornered Luke, right? They've got him laid out, and Obi-Wan goes, and he comes around the corner, and then they all go, ah, and they take off running. I think there's even a sand person that ran in place, so it's worth looking.
Was he that scared? Was he scared enough to run in place?
He was that scared.
I just loved how they were going to run. They were going to leave the beast over there and just run from him. I don't want that job.
Yeah, that was pretty messed up. There's a visual callback to when they're in town and they're unloading those torpedoes. That's a direct callback to when they're like loading torpedoes in one of the films. It's either the end of Episode 4 or early Empire Strikes Back. It's shot exactly the same way. These are just odd little what you would call member berries. They're visual callbacks. They're just things that are there for people to enjoy if you're familiar with that original source material. But if you're not familiar with it, you have this entire other story going on that's keeping you interested in these characters. It's keeping you engaged in this plot because it's kind of fun. It's kind of a quote unquote madcap adventure of how are they going to kill this Titanic monster, and then, you got the thing coming out and like eating the sand people and all that kind of stuff. But it's cool. It's cool. It's also very timely and relevant type story because it promotes racial harmony. Because then you have the townsfolk that agree to work with the sand people who've been living out in the desert and all this stuff, and they have to learn to work together. And it wasn't too ham-fisted. They didn't beat you over the head with it. It's just they gave us a few moments of okay, we have to learn to work together, and that was it.
Kumbaya.
Dealt with the dragon. Yeah, exactly. But again, as you see all this stuff go on, you just see the influence that intermingle between all these old filmmakers and storytellers. Because John Ford essentially influenced Kurosawa. Kurosawa influences Sergio Leone. Sergio Leone influences John Woo. John Woo influences somebody like Robert Rodriguez. Robert Rodriguez influences the modern generation. It just goes on and on and on. So you go from cowboy to western to samurai to and I didn't put Zhang Jie from Hong Kong in there. He goes from Sergio Leone to Zhang Jie, who goes to John Woo. They just mix across continents and across cultures. And that's how you see one influencing the other, and you also see this kind of this aesthetic that continues through all of them. And one of the most obvious places and easiest to find is that old classic show, Have Gun Will Travel. Paladin.
Love that.
Yeah, Paladin was an all-around Renaissance man, spoke multiple languages. He lived in San Francisco, his manservant, and and he did like martial arts and stuff. I mean, he was all those different cultures kind of mashed together into one, and that show was another really amazing show. Then yeah. So another little callback. This time, it's like they cannot get enough callbacks in this first episode. Then the Mandalorian triggers Cobb's jetpack and he makes him fly away because he doesn't want to get hurt. It's a direct callback to Han doing it. And then you're like, oh, is this a manufacturing defect that some guys know about? I mean, Han knew about it. This Mandalorian knows about it. You can just trigger it like this, and so that was kind of cool. So, and then they finally blow the thing up. Though at the end you have to say Like, really? I mean, it had the Mandalorian swallowed. If it had stayed underground, it seemed like he'd have been effed. But you know, it came back up and he flew out. So there you go. But all in all, I mean, that first episode of season 2 was I give it a full 10 out of 10 stars on the Strebo star meter. Totally works
It
in
was
all ways
perfect.
for me. The only problems I had with it, like I said, are some of the secondary character actors. They're just horrible. They should try to get, some better character
What
actors.
is the
But
word?
it is what it is. I can live with it.
What does the word ichor mean? Because he was like,
It's part of blood. It's like thick blood.
okay, but apparently they were looking for some sort of pearl or something like, and then right before that
Yeah, at
scene,
the end they find the Krayt Dragon Pearl, so that's what they hold up at the end. They find the Krayt Dragon
okay,
Pearl. They hold it up. It's actually concentrated kyber crystal, so it's super valuable.
okay, well when
kyber crystals go in lightsabers, so one that big is super valuable.
Gotcha. So when Mandalorian was putting Baby Yoda back onto the speeder bike, was that a giant chunk of flesh he was taking back to eat? There was a big red. I thought, whoa! Who knew you could eat these things, man? Because these cats have got food for like 10 years if they can preserve it. Salt that shit, man. It's jerky. It's
I think so.
Krayt Dragon jerky. You know what I mean?
I think so.
Been making my third eye here.
Yeah. So it's all,
stick that.
All right. There you go. It's all good stuff. So as of right now, yeah, The Mandalorian is accomplishing so much in just soothing the massive butt hurt that I had over Star Wars film. So I can be a Star Wars fan again without like hating myself. So I really enjoy it, and I enjoy I enjoy the classic fan service elements. The constant callbacks and whatnot, but you don't need those. Like the second episode is just like a Monster of the Week episode. It doesn't have all those constant callbacks. It's just another fun space adventure, which is what it should be. That's how Star Wars always worked best, was in that serial storytelling, those cliffhanger type stories. It was always, you would see 3 chapters this week, and you had to come back 1 week later. We're talking about films in the 20s and 30s and whatnot. You had to come back a week later to see the next 3 chapters. And the chapter would always end with the train going off the cliff, and the guy's like, "Oh no!" And the woman's looking on. She's going, "Ah!" And it says, "Do we continue next week?" And you come back next week, and you see the same thing where the guy went off the cliff, but this time you see where he just steps off, and then the train goes off the cliff. The woman still screams, but then he comes back around the corner. He's like, "Hey, I jumped off. What are you gonna do?" And that's Mandalorian. As long as they keep that spirit of I'm gonna
be watching chapter 2 as soon as we close this out. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, genius. See, because we had time to talk about episode 2.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's okay.
Sorry about that. I'm gonna enjoy it though. I'll tell you what, man. It's like this is kind of like sparked my desire to kind of revisit old cinematic properties. I've just started watching Supernatural from episode 1. I know, that show some people
That's not cinematic; it's silver screen, but it's okay.
Well, okay, all right. My point being, just old stuff, right? Likewise. I mean, it doesn't take much for me to start rewatching Tremors, but like in particular, I haven't seen the original Tremors in a long time, and there's an awesome documentary on it right now on the got a lot of the original people, including Kevin Bacon, back. They never get Burt Ward back. I don't know why.
Is that on Amazon Prime?
No.
I was trying to remember where I ran across.
No, it's on YouTube. It's called Making Perfection. Maybe it's called Making Perfection. Of course, Michael Gross is in everything. He's in this as well, and I think
he's also in our interview, which you can check out right here on YouTube.
Mutant TV.
Ding.
Yeah, he's cool. I got to see the final. Well, I presume it's the final. It's probably at least the final Tremors film with Michael Gross.
Of course it is.
Yeah. So, well, until the next one, until they clone Burt Gum or whatever. I don't want to spoil it for you, but I mean, you can. It's number 7, and he's getting pretty up there to be an action star. So, but maybe he'll just be like a head in the jar in the future.
Jamie Lee Curtis is making 2 more Halloween films.
Who knows? It's. I mean, it's like generally that's something that we like to crap on, but I don't know. I've still enjoyed Tremors. Like these ridiculous, Tremors in Antarctica, Tremors Island was I thought when you got past the original four, to me they're like a lot better. You know, obviously the direct to DVD and video ones are not quite up to par, but the last one seemed like it had a much bigger budget. So, you know, and CG has come so far. So the combination of whatever puppets they can afford and like just way better looking CG, you know, it can approach, you know, the originals in some ways and not in others. You know what I mean?
Franchises should be run into the ground. There's nothing wrong with that. If it has legs, you should go with it. Just like I don't, I don't begrudge anybody that enjoys good trash.
Have you
Like
seen?
Sharknado, if they want to watch five of the Sharknado movies, man, go
Oh my
for it.
God,
Because
there's a bunch of
here I am
those.
talking about Star Wars. How many Star Wars films have there been? I mean, if
Yeah,
it's something you love, you want to see more of it. You want more of the same, and there's nothing wrong with that. As long as we can break it up with intermittent bouts of something original, and we still have original work coming
yeah,
out.
man.
That's what we do here at MVP, instead of just trying to just saying, hey, everybody, let's make a fan film, which is easy to promote and easy to get people involved
That's
in,
your
right?
that's your favorite word, isn't it? Fan
That's my
film.
cross to die upon, man. That's right. I'm
That's
gonna
funny.
go down with the ship on that one.
Hey,
But
I know. We could.
we try to make original things where you have to get people interested in the idea, in the concept, in the name, in the poster art, in the work itself. You have to start from the ground up and try to just get them interested in the product without any kind of audience built in beforehand.
Yeah,
But that's what we have to do in order to keep it all alive. I mean, even I don't want to see everything just be Star Wars. Like, really? Yeah, that's all we can watch is Star Wars. Oh my god! And you need some kind of variety, right? So,
right on. Yeah. Well, I'm just excited that there's going to be like a whole season of this, and it's gonna.
yes,
It's
yes,
good.
yes, yes.
You know, it's kind of cool. I do enjoy binging things, but it's kind of cool to have to like think about what's coming next and not just get that instantaneous, you know, opportunity to view it when you're tired and whatnot. You know, so like as it is now, I'm gonna find that one time of the week when I don't have anybody up here with me and turn all the damn lights off. You know, just get me some hot tea and sit there and just really soak it in. Because that last episode, really, I'm like, dang, I know how much I loved episode one. I was gonna rewatch that. I haven't rewatched that yet, so at some point there'll be a rewatch of all
Go
those.
ahead and
But
watch episode two. I mean,
I'm gonna
go
watch
ahead
it
and move
tonight.
on.
Yeah,
It's good. I
yeah,
think
but
episode one was better. I don't know why. I guess maybe because of callbacks. Had a little bit of a problem with the ending of episode two, but
it's
we'll
a.
have to talk about that next time.
I wonder if we're gonna see. Let's see, the Gina Carano character, is that gonna be back, or is she
As far
sort
as
of?
I know, she is. Yeah, that she tried to
We can
the
all
Baju Twitter tried to cancel her, but she fought back.
the Baju Twitter tried to cancel her.
Yep.
What's that about?
I was just gonna say Baju and leave it at that rather than going into the whole um, leftist politic thing. Yeah,
I guess I don't know how you.
Baju's the Chinese word for it. Baju.
The Chinese word for snowflake.
Yes, those people. Yes,
Okay, gotcha.
that try to do canceling things. Yes.
You know, okay. I'm not gonna. I'm.
Baju. So that's why I said that. So we
I'm.
can move
Thank
on.
you.
So
Thank you
yes.
for not trigger. Thank you for not triggering me, Streebo. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Canceling her.
Yeah, they got madder because
I cancel Batwoman.
she put beat bop boop in her Twitter bio. And people that do pronouns there felt offended by it, but whatever, man. But as far as I know, she's going to appear in the season.
Cool.
But one of the
I
things
love her.
that I'm looking forward to reappearing, okay, because we're having to fill a little time here since we can't talk about episode two, is the ending of season one. The very ending of season one ended with reveal of the Dark Saber, which was really awesome.
I do recall that. Yeah.
First appearing in the Clone Wars and then being picked up again in Rebels. So that's really cool. So if you cannot get enough of the Mandalorian and Boba Fett lore and all that stuff, this is my recommendation. Go check out those episodes from the Clone Wars. I think there were some in season 2, some in season 4 and season 5, where Obi-Wan goes to Mandalore and they have this whole battle with Pre Vizsla and these different clans and everything. It's pretty awesome. And then the dark saber is revealed, and then the dark saber is brought back in Rebels, where one of the characters has a tie to the dark saber in her heritage and her family's past. So pretty cool as well. And it's awesome to see all this tied together and brought into the Mandalorian story. So I'm trying to remember if that guy was a Grand Admiral that had the dark saber. So when he reappears, he's got the dark saber. It's pretty cool to see what happens with that. That's a one of the kind lightsaber, is what that is.
Gotcha.
And with that, I think we can bring this to an end. So thank you to everybody in the chat. Our main man, Reggie, right there, dependable as always. I'm pointing at the screen. I have to remember I have to talk to Hal. I can't do that, Dave.
It's weird for you because you're not seeing the instant feedback that I'm seeing, since I'm actually serving the stream. But you could be watching it on a second computer. If that would be weird too, but because you're going to see that.
I have my second computer. It crashed. If you were paying attention,
I did hear that. Yeah. So how often?
I have to investigate that.
How often are we going to try to do these? Every 2 weeks, you said.
Every 2 weeks. So next time we will try to cover more than one episode.
Okay. So so next time it's going to be 2 and 3, right? For the next stream.
At least, yes.
Gotcha. Okay, so that sounds good, and yeah, cool, man, cool. I'm liking this format because you know what? It's no editing. It's edit free.
Yeah, that's the best thing about it.
Edit free, if you will.
In honor of the ongoing elections, if you're seeing too much red, too much blue, turn it all purple by downloading our podcast review of The Color Out of Space, available Monday.
Was that my cue to cancel the stream?
That's your cue to end the stream.
Okay, cool, guys. All right, so go watch the Mandalorian. By the way, you're on
Mutantville.com. Find us on Twitter. Find us on YouTube.
You are no doubt on the Disney service, right, Uncle Strebo? I have that as well.
Yeah, $12.99 for Disney, ESPN, and Hulu is pretty.
I just want to say that Disney in particular, because I have like a about to be 16-month-old granddaughter. Disney is the shiznit. That is you just have access to so much. But I have one minor bitch, and here it is.
They edit a lot of stuff.
Those mojokers try to charge freaking $29 for us to see the live-action Mulan that just came out. And I'm like, oh, hell no. Oh, hell no. I'm almost certain that at some point that was going to be included. And I guess it was maybe the COVID, the losses they've suffered, from that maybe. And even
I remember hearing that too. They changed the strategy a lot on that, so I don't.
I have not yet. I have not yet seen it. Have you seen any of the new season? I'm not going to get this channel, but like the new Star Trek with Sonequa. I forget the name of it. Sonequa Green. What?
Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Are you watching it? Or do you have that? Do you subscribe to that? Yeah, that's why we're not doing a stream about that.
I don't have CBS All Access, so I haven't been able to check that out. And word of mouth on it has been mixed, so I'm not sure if I should, dedicate any time to it or not.
Yeah, I could not have been more unimpressed with the Jean-Luc Picard fiasco that just went down.
I like the first episode.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah.
Likewise. Then it just really tried to break my heart. It really tried.
But anyway, we're at the end of the stream. We're not going to do that right now.
Yeah, sure. Let's do it. Okay, guys. Thanks for watching. And you got Johnny Brento, a.k.a. Brent Bowers.
Mutantville.com. Us.
Yep. Leaving you with
support our films. Buy something so that we can make more of these things. We're trying to make movies. We have no money.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Good wishes. And maybe we'll talk about some future projects next time as well. Peace out.